So Final Fantasy VII has another secret remake coming. Many of us have played Final Fantasy VII Remake by now. Some of us have played Final Fantasy Rebirth, and Rebirth is getting a lot of very positive reviews, although the sales evidently have been terrible. Remake, on the other hand, did pretty well. It came out on PC and on PlayStation 4, and is also available on PlayStation 5. The thing is that what people are not talking about is the secret remake that is inevitably coming, and that is Final Fantasy VII Remake Compilation or Complete. What the heck is this? What am I talking about? Well, first off, we already know that Final Fantasy was originally one game. I played the original game back in the late 90s. It was a banger, and a lot of people were disappointed when Square Enix announced that Final Fantasy VII Remake would be split into multiple parts. Now we know that it's going to be a total of three parts, and the next part that will come out hopefully within 3 years. That's the time frame that they are pushing for. 3 to 4 years will be the very final one. The thing is that there will inevitably be another version of Final Fantasy VII, especially with Square Enix currently experiencing massive financial problems. One of the biggest issues is the failure of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to capitalize and to make the same profit that Final Fantasy Rebirth did, when the reality is simple that these should have all been one game entirely. Square Enix, because of time constraints, split it up into multiple different games. We can see how it's affecting things for them, and the simple answer is not good at all. The elephant in the room is that people really don't want to have to buy multiple different games to experience what should have been one big game, and that's going to run people well over $200 just to play all three of these games. And not only that, every time you play a new game, you start over from the beginning. So it's not like all the work that you put in Midgar is going to only be the start as you move into the next portion of the game, leaving Midgar and exploring the the larger world map. Final Fantasy Remake Complete will combine all of these games into one game, giving us the definitive version, definitive edition that we've all wanted. One big game that will allow us to leave Midgar, transition into the main world, keeping our levels, keeping everything intact, and basically experiencing everything as one consistent adventure. And especially considering how Square Enix is looking at things right now, they've announced that they're going to be putting their games on multiple platforms. There will no longer be any Sony exclusivity going forward. Potentially the very next remake, so part 3 is the last exclusive Final Fantasy game that'll have like at least a set period of time and won't and will be on Sony's console first, and then it'll go to others, presumably. The ultimate reality, the ultimate reality is that Remake Complete is going to have all of the games in one. It's going to be a smooth transition. It's going to feel like a new game entirely, because you're going to be transitioning from one to the other to the other. What the pricing point of this is going to be, that will be more questionable. My guess is that they'll still maintain that $69 pricing point, $70 pricing point, because at that point, you'll have two older games. Seven will be an older game. Remake will be an older game. Rebirth will be an older game. These are games that would have gone down to $20 a piece, in years past before crazy inflation. So it makes perfect sense that that they would package them together and basically sell them as one entire definitive edition. And I think that's something that will likely end up coming out on the Nintendo Switch 2 and the Xbox Next. Now, Something that I really do think that's going to make a huge difference as well, and how they're going to move this, is the PlayStation 6. The PlayStation 6 and the Xbox Next, whatever they cook up, those devices are going to be extremely powerful. Microsoft has already said that we're going to see the largest generational leap ever in a console generation. A lot of people don't believe this. My guess, however, is that while it will potentially use some level of AI upscaling and a variety of other things, I think that what Microsoft is doing is developing some type of new hardware. What do I mean? I think they're developing some type of new random access memory or storage format. And I think that's, that there's some creativity going on behind the scenes. And I think that it's going to be something along this lines that allows them to have a much larger jump than we would have expected, because we're jumping really far with teraflops right now. When it comes to the amount of teraflops that you can process, the PlayStation 5 Pro allegedly can do like over 30 teraflops, right? And keep in mind, the current PlayStation 5 is like 10 teraflops. Teraflops don't matter as much, but that does give us an indicator of how much data can be processed by the CPU. And it's a lot. And when you consider the PlayStation 6, and the Xbox Next, we can probably expect 2 to 3 times leap over these specs. How do we know that? Well, the PlayStation 4 Pro, when it originally came out, it was around 4 teraflops, and the Xbox Next was around the Xbox One X was around 6 teraflops. So it was quite a bit. It was a bit faster, but they were still pretty much in that ballpark. And then if you do the math, the PlayStation 5 can now handle 10 teraflops, which is a little bit more than double what the PlayStation 4 Pro can do. And the Xbox Series X can process, I believe it's 12 teraflops. So, which is about double what the Xbox One Series, Xbox One X could do. So if we follow this pattern, it's very probable that we're going to see a console that's going to probably process anywhere from 50 to from 50 to 100 teraflops. Do I think we're going to get to 100? Maybe not, but I think it's going to be at least 50 teraflops each console, 50 to 60, and maybe as much as 75 to 80. But it's going to be a huge jump. It's going to be a leap in that respect, but there's also going to be some secret hardware in there, I think, that's going to allow this generational leap to take place. And Final Fantasy 7, this version is going to, that's going to release on on this console. It's going to be massive, because it's going to allow a lot of people to relive the games, play the games again, but it's going to be one continuous adventure. Another thing that a lot of people complained about with Final Fantasy 7 was the fact that it was not turn-based enough. Like, they did not like the action RPG element to it. Some people loved it, some people didn't like it, and they might take that into consideration and change things around a bit more to give it a bit of that element, but it probably won't. They'll probably keep the action RPG element and maybe make a few tweaks here and there. But ultimately, having that one continuous adventure where you can go from Midgar, you can head into the world map and have a conclusive adventure. That's going to be absolutely massive. And combined with the power of the PlayStation 6 and the Xbox Next, it's going to make the game look even better, even more beautiful. My prediction is that it'll probably come out within 2 to 3 years of the final game coming out. So part three coming out, I think that will, within about three years after that. So maybe within, I don't know if it will be it would necessarily be a launch title for PlayStation 6 and the next Xbox, although it absolutely could be. But I could see it coming out within 1 to 2 years, or three max, of the next PlayStation coming out. And that's going to be absolutely insane, because everyone's going to jump right back in and being able to play play this game as one game going from the beginning to the end, it's going to create an entirely different feel. People are going to jump in, people are going to love it. It's going to be extremely exciting. So, and that's a big elephant in the room. Final Fantasy 7 does have another secret remake coming, and people are going to be looking forward to it. It's going to be the complete edition of Final Fantasy 7. It's going to be the definitive version. It's going to have everything in there, one continuous experience. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with this, that this version of the game is coming, and it will likely come with the next PlayStation and Xbox, the next console generation? Let me know what you guys think, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Catch you in the next one. Peace.